sports, and I'm just gonna go to the Spanish side. I'm just telling you right now, just so we're all aware. Yes.
Okay, you were saying. I'm sorry. No, I
As
didn't
we
make
say
it
in
a
this
chance.
press release, so this is what we do. So Missionary on Pipeline, we are we have a specific education training path. It's a one-way funnel. We're funneling people.
Awesome.
But we developed the Archer Academy, which is our extension ministry, and that's so that we can train excellence to other people who can't be a part of our pipeline. So we have series. So the Archer Academy has different events. It has we can teach, we can go to schools, we can do aerospace education, we can talk about aviation character, career, missions.
Oh, we're gonna talk about all of that.
All right.
Yes.
I just wanted you to know.
Did you guys hear that? Hello, YouTubers.
Oh, this is live.
We are live on YouTube. And over there is Facebook. It's just something happened to his tripod that he couldn't move the phone this way. So, yeah, but it's all right. And we're live on 1370WLTH.com and 90.7 FM and 1370 AM. So, it's all good. Are we live on 1370 WLTH? Did you ask him?
So that's the story.
Are we live on WLTH 1370 on the streaming? Okay.
One of y'all got to have a headphone on. The sound
I already know that.
No, but I'm saying nobody hears it. And only I'm here and I can't interrupt y'all. You always know it.
Oh, believe me, I've been telling him for 8 years not to tap on the table.
I don't anymore.
I just let them know. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready?
All right, buenas tardes, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos y feliz viernes aquí en WLTH AM 1370, AM 1370 y 92.7 FM. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás, Juanito?
I'm fantastic.
You know.
Yeah.
The views expressed by the host and the callers of this show are not necessarily the views of WLTH radio management, owners, and sponsors. And yes, we have very sensitive mics, so Juan, don't breathe so hard on that mic, okay? The caller number is 219-885-1371. And that's 219-885-1371. And of course, we're going to have some amazing guests coming up in just a few minutes after a few announcements. You know, we're always about bringing awareness and always about educating you, empowering you, and also entertaining you. So you guys got entertained last weekend. Didn't you get entertained, Juanito?
We had a clown in here.
And what happened to your balloon?
It was your balloon.
Oh,
I gave my balloon away.
Oh, okay.
I gave
my flower's still blooming.
Oh, okay.
My flower's still blooming. They gave me a
poodle.
flower. Yeah, and the poodle. The poodle's just on the corner somewhere, but my flower's still blooming. All right. I got two. So anyway, what do you have over there, Juanito?
Well, today is our last fish fry at St. Patrick's Church. We will be raffling off a 40-inch TV today, and as well, always have our 50-50 raffle at St. Patrick's Church. That's from 4 to 7 in East Chicago, Indiana. Also, we want to thank Ms. Araceli Corona for advertising on Nuestra Comunidad, Northwest Indiana, about Medicare and the options that people have when it comes to Medicare for those that are 65 or are going to be turning 65 as it relates to Medicare. So we thank Ms. Araceli Corona, who is the CEO for Brilliance Insurance Group. And then pretty much that's about it. I'll save everything for tomorrow.
Oh, you sure? So wait, today's the last of what? Where are you going after the show?
St. Patrick's Church, our last fish fry.
That's right. You're gonna buy me some enchiladas?
You got a trip to go take, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a trip, but I said buy me some enchiladas, like rack them up, foil them, and bring them to me tomorrow. So why not? I'm gonna be here tomorrow.
So you roast him, and then you ask for enchiladas.
That's all right.
Okay.
That's called tough love. That's called tough love. So anyway, tomorrow we're having an opportunity. Well, I've been blessed with an opportunity to speak. And I'm just through the grace. I can't take credit for that. Let me look it up real quick. And you know, we have to groom our youth in the best way possible And when I say groomed, I mean loving on them, showing them how to walk, talk, how to sometimes even sit down, or how to dress. Because sometimes our kids, our female young ladies, dress too provocative. And it's unfortunate. Yes, no one has the right to touch anyone else. But sometimes they look more grown than me and they try to act more grown than me. Well, there's a problem. So I am thankful for Pastor Therese L. Bibbs from Mount Zion AME Church. Lipstick Confessions from Bitter to Better. Hannah's Prayer presents tomorrow. Teresa Bibbs Ministry. It's all day. Actually, it starts today at 6 p.m. And then we have another one tomorrow at 8:15. Breakfast will be served until 4 o'clock. The venue will be at Mount Zion AME Church, 1765 Tyler Street in Gary, Indiana. Register at Eventbrite. I'm sure there's still space for you. Eventbrite.com/e/lipstick confessions 2019. Well, that's a lot. From bitter to better tickets. And then there's a number. But if you just, I'm sure if you type it in, Lipstick Confessions from Bitter to Better, it'll come up on Eventbrite. Or go to updates on Facebook at Teresa Bibbs Ministry. So I've been given the pleasure and honor to go in and speak some life and some truth into someone that needs to hear what we have to tell them. And it's not really coming from me, coming from the Spirit.
Are you done with your commercials? Larry, can we go to that commercial break right here?
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Do you need to explore your options and choose a plan?
Just a minute ago, like you did like this.
My things are loud.
I'm just letting you know, interrupt with y'all recordings because they be picking up everything.
Did we change something? I mean, they usually pick up really bad the sound. I know.
No, I'm hearing it sound like we're out in the storm right now. Every time, all this.
I'm taking my bracelet off.
And I am glad to answer your questions, help you explore your options, and plan. If you are turning 65, have Medicare,
don't write so hard.
Hey,
bookers, YouTubers, and Facebookers.
773-968-6619 and 219-801-1276. I look forward to your call. Araceli Corona is not connected with the federal Medicare program.
All right, welcome back. Nuestra Comunidad Noroeste de Indiana. Estamos aquí en vivo desde nuestros estudios de Gary, Indiana, y aquí con mi compañero Juanito. You got anything else to announce before we get on with our interview?
Well, you know, we were supposed to have a special guest tomorrow in relation to our National Hispanic Political Roundtable. It's not going to happen, but maybe at the end of the month we may continue with our next segment of our National Hispanic Political Roundtable, which we're just looking for a date that they're comfortable with. But this is an organization called Latino Justice out of New York. And hopefully at some point, one of our other future guests for our National Political Hispanic Roundtable will be the former housing secretary that we interviewed in Chicago at the USLI conference. And that would be Mr. Henry Cisneros, who is a former housing secretary for the United States of America. And he will be one of our upcoming guests for our National Hispanic Roundtable leading up to the 2020 presidential elections. So we want to thank first and foremost our very first guest, Ms. Ara Karina Rodriguez, who was the communications director for a major organization out of Arizona. And then we had your guy by the name of Mr. Luis Jose Lopez from LULAC, vice president of the Midwest states. And so we got, like I said, we have Latino Justice coming up, and then hopefully City View, and maybe possibly on the same day.
And speaking of Latinos, you're talking about Latinos. We have Unity Day coming up, Juan, and that's May 8th. Yeah. And that's going down to Springfield, Illinois. And I salute Illinois Association of Hispanic State Employees and also LULAC. of Illinois. Shout out to Jose Lopez and Alex Medina. They're having their 8th annual Latino Unity Day in Illinois, an opening session, rally, and luncheon. And we are inviting every representative from education, from legislation, from the community, humanitarian activists, students to come together, bridge that gap between both states, because it's so important that we have to learn from each other. Look, Illinois already has a driver's license to our immigrants. Why don't we have that here in Indiana, Juanito? Do you know? It's important. You agree?
Yeah, but you know what?
But what? Here we
their
go.
legislature did that. Ours.
Well,
who
that's
knows
why,
what?
hence, they want to come here to educate the legislators from Indiana and showing them how they did it to make it happen. So we are going to be bringing the legislation from Illinois to Indiana, and we're going to have a meeting.
Okay.
You were saying?
Do you know if the Democratic representation, if the Indiana representation is all Democrats or Democrats and Republicans? Because that's key. If it's just Democrats from Indiana, then we're not the majority, so that would be very difficult to do. Eve, can I say something real quickly on a different matter? On a very different
at all,
different
man.
subject?
I'm telling you speak those things, and it happens, right?
The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, just signed a bill to to ban the sale of
until 21 years of age
and e-cigarettes and anything that has to do with liquor until you're the age of 21, which is a great thing.
It is.
But on the other hand, he's in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana. So while one hand does great, the other thing that he's in favor of is not great. So where you are on
is there an age?
J.B. Pritzker.
You know, I was invited to go meet with him. It was a private thing, and I just decided to not go there. But
it's not about
other
age.
reasons.
It's marijuana there's not a reason. There's not a good reason to smoke. Period. There's not a good reason to do marijuana, whether it's recreational or not. I am in favor of medical marijuana. I'm not in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana. I am for decriminalizing marijuana. So on the one hand, he's done a good thing. On the other hand,
there's another reason.
What?
Or not. Do we have a good reason to drink?
No.
Well, why do we do it?
There's a difference.
Because it's legal.
Okay.
Right?
But you know what? They're not talking about.
I think they need to do something about that one too. They need to raise the age.
Driving under the influence of now marijuana. They're not talking about how it's affecting children now that are where parents are doing marijuana because it's legal in their state.
Drinking also affects. I'm not in favor of that either. So as I was telling you about bringing legislation, it's nothing impossible. Anything is possible as long as we have the right connection. So we got the Illinois Legislative Latino Caucus, the Illinois Association of Hispanic State Employees, and the Latino Policy Forum, Hispanic Illinois State Law Enforcement Association, Illinois Latino Council in Higher Education, and the League United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, is coming together to go to Indianapolis, and we're inviting all the Indiana representatives and community leaders, activists, students, college, high school students to come with us. If we have to get some buses, LULAC said if we get 200 youth together, they'll give us the bus. So come on, kids, let's come together and let's learn from each other. You know, let's not hate each other. Let's appreciate what we have and love on each other. Right?
Very good.
All right.
So run for office, woman.
Nah.
Yeah. You keep telling me. I'm telling you.
No, because then I have to stay stuck in one city, one state, one county, and that's not me because the Lord wants me all over the world as a missionary. So
there's what they call the internet. You don't have to be all over the world.
The Lord says,
social media.
The Lord says, I have to listen. You'll see me in Peru. You'll see me in Guatemala. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me when or where. When he says, he does it. That's how. Anyway, see what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Oh, he just doesn't know.
Hey, there's also Skype. There's also Skype.
No.
That's when it comes to
the people that need to hear the word don't have Skype. Okay. They don't have this. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're on to our great interview about to start here. You know, I this is me all day long, and so I couldn't wait to have you come on. It's like the Energizer Bunny. Yes, and it's not the coffee. Anyway. Good afternoon, good evening, buenas tardes, ¿cómo están? How are you doing, ladies?
We're good.
Bienvenidas, welcome you to, and I don't need to be on the camera. Welcome you guys to Nuestra Comunidad, and it's just a blessing to me to have you on. Okay, somebody's
teléfono. blur.
That's her
Go
phone,
for it.
his phone. But anyway, sorry for the interruption. Thank you, Major Green.
It's a pleasure.
We've talked about it, and we've like for 3 weeks there was no communication, and I'm like, oh, I never responded to her text. So it just happened when it's supposed to happen, and I'm thankful that you guys are finally here, that you have made time to come here and tell the world what you ladies are doing. And I truly understand that when we have to go, right? So this is today. This is your day. Tell us what you guys are doing. First of all, I'm going to start with you, Major Green.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and why.
Sure. Wow, that's a mouthful.
That's a compounded question.
Thanks so much for having all of us here. Obviously, you are desiring to make a difference, as are we. And so my name is Jennifer Ruth Green, and I serve as a major in the Indiana Air National Guard out of Fort Wayne. Just a disclaimer, though, none of my views reflect the views of the Department of Defense or the Air Force or the Air National Guard in any way. I'm here representing the opportunity that our young people have through the Missionary Pipeline. And so City Outreach Foundation is a nonprofit organization, and the Missionary Pipeline is a ministry of that. So I am a pilot and got my start in 2005 at the Air Force Academy, and started flying for the Air Force. And then I transitioned and became a federal agent working with the Office of Special Investigations. Had the opportunity to deploy downrange to Baghdad for 6 months as a counterintelligence officer. And when I came back, the Lord just continued to work in my heart and help me and grow me. And after 2012, when the military was downsizing, there was a reduction in forces. And so the Lord transferred me off of active duty to the Air National Guard. So 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And during that time, I went to grad school in California and got a master's in church ministry degree. My undergrad is in international relations. I studied Asia. And so my goal at the time was to become an ambassador. And I wanted to eventually become Condoleezza Rice. I wanted to be the Secretary of State. She got appointed in 2005 when I graduated college. So that was my goal. And then there was a tap on my shoulder when God said, be an ambassador for the King of Kings. And it was a great time. And I was able to commit to full-time service. And when I became a federal agent, I had stopped flying a lot. But in 2015, I was on a missions trip to Brazil. And while there, God just burned in my heart to develop and serve missionaries through aviation. So I got back into aviation and worked on and took care of all the credits for an aeronautics degree. And we decided to start the Missionary Pipeline. So that's kind of where we are, and that's how we got here. And I'm really excited today to have some of our executive administrative staff for City Outreach Foundation. We have Mrs. Megan Schmidt. She and her husband are in full-time evangelism. And then we have Miss Princessa Baltazar. She's a former legislative aide out at in Minnesota with the House. And so she's a part of our team as well, desires to serve in missions. And we're just blessed by the Lord to be able to do his work, preparing young people.
That's awesome. I'm like so on fire right now because I'm not the only one here today. Thank you, Lord. So let me ask you,
Sure.
and I thank Colonel Liggins. Shout out to Colonel Liggins. He's the one that connected me
He
to
did.
you.
He's a good man.
We stood in front of the school and just talked, and we called you right away. And I thank you for coming on board with Junior Achievement to speak to our students.
Oh, absolutely.
There'll be other times if you're available. Anyone that's available to come and speak to our youth. They have to have choices, but they have to know what they are, as in better choices
I like that.
when it comes to their career, what to do with their lives. And hearing what you're doing, it could spark something that they haven't heard and they may be interested in, and then there's the conversation, and there you go, right? And then you have them. And especially in this area, in this region, is so needed. It's so important that we lead them into the righteous path, not just the right path. I can be right all day long, but be on the left side.
Sure.
Non-political, okay. They talk about the left side, the right side. I'm just on God's side, whether it's left or right. I'm just on his side. But let me ask you, what has been the worst experience in you starting in the Air Force, and then you said you were also in the with the government. You just mentioned it.
Fort Wayne, Air National Guard.
In the National Guard. What's the worst experience you've had that made you maybe not want to be there, but you stuck it out because here you are, Major.
Well, let's see here. Just full transparency. Here I am. Our country does a good job of training warriors because we provide all of the weaponry and all of the skill sets, and we teach our airmen and our soldiers, our sailors, our Marines that you do today what you do, so tomorrow you can do what others can't. And there's this great sense of confidence which comes with the training that they've provided to us. And so throughout our cultural training in preparation to go to Baghdad, there was never a place where anybody said that our enemies were less than us, or even implied that. However, I believe that going to the desert and coming back, I realized that there was a true hatred in my heart for a group of people as a result of being ready and willing at any given moment to take my weapon and end another person's life. I couldn't see them as a mother, as a father, as a sister, as a brother. They were the obstacle keeping me from getting home safely, and perhaps part of a regime that had killed some of my friends.
Mm.
And so truly having enemies in my heart, I didn't understand the word hate. But when I came back, it was just in my heart, and it was difficult. And I'm very thankful that the Lord got a hold of me to help me understand love in an entirely different way. And so I believe that he used that experience for the better to help me understand more about grace, loving people, the value of life, his sacrifice being for everyone. And so I would say that's probably the hardest, most life-changing thing for me, was recognizing what hate is and that I had the capacity to do it, but God working that out in me.
That's awesome. Did you guys hear that? Yes, yes, yes. And for my military folks, I thank them for serving. Our warriors, our heroes. I thank you. I have a nephew that served in the Navy. He re-enlisted 3-4 times. And through the Afghanistan, where they were out there minding somebody else's business. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep it real. And he was in the forefront. He was in the mechanic. He was right in the front. He made sure that the vehicles were running and they were shooting. And, you know, you have PTSD now that some don't know how to cope with it. And, you know, we know how we need to cope with it. But in the secular world, they are still affected by it. Even when they're going through therapy, when they're getting medication, they're still affected by it. And let's not go so far and tell me if this has affected you in any kind of way as well. A young man in his 30s, I think he was Air Force. I invited him to come and see Jesus of Nazareth at our church, but I forgot to tell him that there's going to be some loud booms. We have the pyrotechno. And I'm glad that he sat by the balcony, because that's where I had the seats up there for him, because he could easily run out. It reminded him that he couldn't handle after that second boom. He had to leave. Even though he is he has a walk that he's working on with God, but I saw that it affected him. So I can imagine how it affects others. Has that happened to you?
July 4th is not my favorite day. I love America. But there have been previous July 4ths that have been really difficult for me.
You know, and it's not just July 4th, it's the days leading up to the 4th. It's the days leading after the 4th that people still light up their fireworks, and I've heard the same thing.
Sure.
And the reason why I brought it up is because it's so surreal. It's real. It happens, and people need to understand that somebody could be having a bad day. It's not really them. It's what's happened to them, to understand them better, to give them that grace, that love. We need that. Tell the world we need that. Come on, Major.
We need it. No, it's a privilege to serve, but it definitely changes you. And I got an honest question from my brother. I'm the baby of 6, and I love my siblings. I love them all. And they love me. We have a good relationship. My parents will be married 50 years this December. And so I have a strong family unit. But my brother, he asked me one time, he said, hey, you know, I understand that there are different job, not expectations, but basically hazards that come with various pieces of work. He said, I know that if I'm going to be a secretary of some sort, then perhaps I can expect carpal tunnel. He said, I know that if I am a soccer player, perhaps I can expect knee injuries or something. But he said, why do military members go go to war and experience these difficulties and then come back with PTSD, and then we're funding their treatment for the rest of their life. And he wasn't being unkind. He wasn't being ungrateful. He was just honestly asking, saying, isn't that a naturally expected hazard? If you're sent out to go kill someone, it's going to be a difficult time for you coming back. And I appreciated his honesty and I appreciated his inquiry. And we were able to have an honest chat about the realities of war and the ugliness of war. And the reason why I believe there were times where I could have died and should have died, but the Lord saved me on several occasions.
Amen.
And so we were able to have an honest discussion about how war had impacted me. And I think asking the question and truly listening without interjecting political views, well, why are we there in the first place? Or what are we doing there? Or you should have known. It doesn't matter. It's who we are. It's where we are. And I think having that open, honest discussion as a current service member is a privilege. But I think it's fair to request that in those discussions, continuous details will probably not be discussed, and it's hard to express a lot of feeling anyway, I think, because of the depth of the soul with which the depth of your soul with which it reaches. But being willing to be that listening ear is very, very valuable, because it is a difficult thing.
It is. And not go too far. I went to a psych ward. I don't even like it, rehab. I'll just call it that. And there was one Spanish speaking individual there. So there's the reason why I was there for 2 days, all day, to walk with him, to sit with him, because he didn't speak the language. But in listening to 3 other gentlemen that were there were suffering PTSD. And they were not well at home, not well accepted by their spouse. One had gone through a divorce because of that. And it's like, so what do you do in that to balance it out? But it's so real. And that's why I had to bring it up with you, because
Sure.
our listeners, our viewers have to know how real this is, that it could be someone in their family that they don't quite get along because of that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
what do you tell a family member
I think
or friend, spouse?
I think the biggest things that helped me were after I had time to process it through prayer. I trusted Christ as my Savior when I was 8 years old at a Christian camp, and allowing the Lord through my personal devotions to have the time to work things out in my heart was a huge help first. But it took time, 10 years before I was ready to talk about anything, 9 years. And then having friends who would just listen and non-judgmentally, and just not necessarily asking a ton of questions, but more being concerned about what the immediate need was. And sometimes the needs were irrational. I just need to sit here, I need to be quiet, and I need you to sit next to me. Sometimes it was a matter of I need to talk, or I need to cry and I don't understand why. And to be able to have that support system that doesn't require any questions, doesn't require any answers, doesn't require any reason why, that's ultimately, I think, what the Lord has blessed me with to help me overcome those things. So if I had one recommendation, it would be to be willing to accept and without understanding, and just to take whatever the need is and be okay with it, regardless of how you need to understand it.
That's good. That's good. And thank you for sharing that. I knew that would bring you back to what you sent me on the bio. And I said, what's the appropriate question to ask? Because that sometimes takes you back home, takes you back to those memories. And I know that they could be painful. Yeah. Right. It could be painful. And I thank you also for wearing your uniform. For those that are not seeing it, let's talk about what you have.
Sure.
Spitfire. Then you have
Sure.
little flower here, and you have the Misionario Areo, like air, right? Pipeline, and of course you have your name tag there with the wings and the flag. You can't be without that flag right there, right? So what does each stand for? And then we'll get into the ladies.
Absolutely. So here we have the Spitfire 332nd patch. Lieutenant Colonel Lee Archer was an original Tuskegee Airman. They were the first African-American military pilots in the Army Air Corps. Colonel Archer is the one who encouraged me to fly. He asked me a question one day when he came to the Air Force Academy, and he said, hey, what are you going to do with your career? And I said, I'd like to do something with languages. I'd like to travel. And he asked me if I was pilot qualified, and I said, yes, sir. And he said, if you don't stand on our shoulders, who will? And it was one of the most convicting statements. Basically, we fought really hard to have the opportunity to fly. And if you're competent and capable and they're willing to teach you, why not? And so it just encouraged me to take that leap. I didn't really have a huge interest in aviation, but the Lord provided that opportunity. So I started flying with the Air Force, and this is kind of an homage to them, the 332nd Spitfire unit. And then the Mission Aero Pipeline, this is who we are. This is who we represent, developing and serving missionaries through aviation. And then my civilian wings, Jennifer Ruth Green Mission Aero Pipeline. And then obviously we have the flag. And so the Mission Aero Pipeline, kind of the name, comes from our mission, our goal, our desire is to work with aerospace, so aeronautics and those kinds of things, everything to do with that kind of study and industry. And so our goal is aerospace. But then I have a burden for Latin America, just reaching them with the gospel. And so the word in Spanish for missionary is misionero.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where that comes from. But that's what we wear in our uniform. And the uniform itself is a flight suit to be able to ideally be kind of fire retardant and hopefully be a safe option in case of anything going wrong in the cockpit.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in the military?
Since 2000.
Since 2000, so what, 19 years now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me ask you this then too. First of all, I am totally against, what is it, driverless commercial planes, driverless
Oh, sure.
vehicles and driverless semi-trucks and so forth. Because I feel they're made by man and we still need the individual just in case.
Sure.
But has there been talk about driverless military planes at some point in the future?
Well, we do have remotely piloted aircraft, and that's probably as close as we get. So these aircraft are flown from thousands of miles away.
Okay.
And so I don't know necessarily about doing various other types of missions, but we do have remotely piloted aircraft. So in the cockpit itself, there is no pilot. It's computer sensor operated. However, the pilot is just digitally controlling it from a different location.
You know, this is just, I don't know if you can answer this or not, and it's just a yes or no question. When someone has actually served in war, whatever department of the military that they were in an actual war, and then they come back to this country to live, and I don't remember the exact word that I'm trying to come up with. Do they go through some
Decompression?
something like that, where they're there maybe for a week so that they can be examined and then determine if they have any issues before they go back home?
Sure. So it depends on the career field, but I went through a week-long decompression
Okay.
straight out of deployment in Germany. But other troops will get sent back directly, but then you get that time off with your family, rest and relaxation, R&R they call it. So you have a couple weeks off. But a lot of times these wounds won't necessarily fester or bubble up until
Later on. Right.
So even if you give me 3 weeks, I mean, it may take years for me to figure out what's really going on inside. So, but I think the military is doing a really good job by providing directors of psychological health, by allowing us to raise our hand and say, hey, there's something wrong with me. Mental health is a big deal. And I believe that they're taking good care of us collectively.
You know, if I can ask one more question, and
Sure.
this is to all three of you ladies right here, and it's pretty much yes or no. If there were to be an unfortunate situation where there would be a draft, and there would be a situation now where the government is thinking about women should be in that draft, of which I am totally against. From your personal view, as just a women with no titles or anything, are you in favor of women being part of the draft or not? Just yes or no, and answer this as just a woman and nothing else with no titles. Would you be able to answer that or no?
I don't have a comment.
Oh, you don't? Okay, that's right.
I don't think I would either.
No comment?
No comment.
Okay. Now I'll tell you, can I say something? First of all, I have triplet nieces, okay? And I think when it comes to this world, and I know there's a lot, and you know what, if women want to serve in the military, fantastic. if they want to, if there's would be an unfortunate war, they could go there as volunteers, in my opinion.
Sure.
But I think as men here, we need to protect our women, and in some cases, women need wind up protecting the men. But I think generally speaking, men need to protect our women. And if there would be an unfortunate situation where there would be a war, I would never be in favor of women being part of that draft, only as volunteers. I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
Okay.
Just leave it at that.
I appreciate the
Right.
question, though.
Yeah, that's a good question, Juan.
Yeah.
I know that you've been asking that question to several different groups, and I believe that it's to each his own. COF, City Outreach Foundation. What is that, and who wants to speak first? And tell us your name and where you're from. Whoever wants to start.
Do you want to start? Or you want to go for it?
I can say what I do for you all.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
So my name is Megan Schmidt. I am from Sacramento, California.
Oh my goodness!
I know, far from home
Better
today.
than here. What are you doing here?
She didn't bring any of the heat.
No,
Right?
sorry.
We got
Sorry.
joked on the other day when it was 70s.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Bamboozled.
Right.
Aw. So I originally grew up in Georgia, and I met my husband, who is from Sacramento, California. He grew
Mhm.
up with Jennifer Ruth. So that is how we connected.
You're the blame.
Yes.
Say thank you.
Yes, yeah. So we've become best friends, and
Awesome.
just always supported each other wherever God has led us. And
Amen.
so, most recently, I have had a secretarial career,
Mhm.
and so more recently, she needed some administrative help. So I joined, Princessa and I both joined City Outreach Foundation this year, and so we are providing the back end, all the behind the scenes work of everything that you see right here.
Wow.
So we just
Amen.
count it a privilege to be able to support the administrative work to help her, this amazing lady, be all that she is.
Amen.
And so, yeah, it's our privilege to support with City Outreach
Awesome.
Foundation. Yep.
Awesome. And thank you. Thank you for being obedient.
Yes.
You know, I have to say that because it takes obedience to do what he wants us to do
Yes.
and not be distracted. We could easily be distracted in this world by so many things that are happening in the political realm, in the health, in so many things. So you're staying focused helps what she's doing, and it helps all of us know what we need to do into this. So what got you involved in the City Outreach Foundation, or COF? I mean, truly, you personally,
Me
you, because you
personally?
could have just said no.
No.
I thank you for introducing my husband to
Yeah.
me. You know, maybe that's all we needed to connect with. But something
Yeah.
had to do personally with you.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So my husband is an evangelist. He travels and helps churches all over. And I had been working just a daytime job, and I wanted to be able to join him full time. So I was looking for something that I could do on the road, somewhere where I could help, but I also wanted it to be ministry focused, where I was serving and helping a ministry. And so Jennifer Ruth and I met at Christmas and got to spend some time together. And she was just sharing with me all of the amazing things that they were doing, and then her passion for a missionero. And and she was sharing with me the administrative part, all these things that she was doing that I just felt like she
So
was a little overwhelmed. That's the way I felt. And so she just mentioned needing some administrative help, and I prayed about that a bit. What should I do? Because I had more time myself. And then just looking at the websites, reading the information, seeing the faces and the testimonies of how they're making a difference in all the various different areas that they have. So many things for both women, for men, for children, and then for the youth. So many opportunities to touch every generation, every area, and make a difference. And so I talked to her about it, and she had it on her heart a little bit too, I think. And so we just knew the Lord is in this. Let's join.
Wow,
Yes.
that's great. That's great. So there was a double purpose there in meeting Major Green,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The husband and the missionary.
Yes, absolutely.
God has a sense of humor.
He
We have
does.
to acknowledge that. So,
Yeah.
and then this beautiful young lady.
Yes.
A ver, cuéntanos quién eres tú.
My name is Princessa Baltazar, and I'm originally from Minnesota. I actually was born in Guatemala. We moved out here back in '92 and have called Minnesota my home since then. I moved out here the weekend before Christmas, just last year, and I am here attending Hiles-Anderson College currently. God really touched my heart this last summer when I came to a youth conference that First Baptist Church of Hammond had, and I just responded. And it was one of those things, at my age, it wasn't very easy, but it was so worth it. And I see it every day, the way that he's taken care of me, the way that he connected me with Miss Jennifer Green, and just different other ladies too that are part of the ministry. And just the fact that I'm even having a bit of a part, the administrative part, that's also my background. I worked in the insurance industry for about 10 years. And the Lord gave me this opportunity to work at the House of Representatives of Minnesota. I was a committee legislative assistant for the higher education. And even through that, it was definitely a calling. And I just feel privileged again to be able to be called by God and to be used by the ministry. And again, we're just here trying to do and trying to move forward with whatever Miss Green and whatever God is sending her way, and trying to catch up with her activities. But it's been nothing but, honestly, it's very rewarding to me.
Yes.
If I may, Larry, can we go to that next commercial, please?
We'll be right back after this.
Cumple 65 años y tiene
So you can
preguntas sobre
understand
su
español?
cobertura
You can
de
understand Espanol, right?
Sí, yo sé.
And then we'll go into the Spanish real quick, and then we're going to talk about the misionero, and we'll have you, since we're on you now, we're talking about the misionero, and we talk about this in español, ¿sí?
Sitiendo Illinois, Indiana. Háblenme al 773
You mentioned Guatemala. Someone actually prophesied and said, I see you in Guatemala. God's going to give you a word that
Si
women need
tiene
to hear.
Medicare y quiere
So I
cambiar
said,
su plan médico
"I don't
hoy,
have this."
usted puede calificar.
No,
Soy
he
una
doesn't
agente
know. He's like,
licenciada
no,
y
dude.
certificada y espero su llamada.
You go where he says you go.
Araceli Corona no está
Right?
conectada con el programa federal de Medicare.
2, 1.
All right, we're back to Nuestra Comunidad NWI, Indiana, and we thank also Araceli Corona for advertising with us. Hope that you are actually, yeah, our phones, we jingle. Anyway, we're live on 1370WLTH.com and 92.7 FM, 1370 AM as well. And if you have any questions, the lines are open to 1-885-1371. 885-1371. Aquí tenemos a tres hermosas mujeres, ángeles de Dios, que están con una misión y que son evangelistas, están haciendo la obra de Dios para ayudar a todos los que necesitan ayuda. Y pues aquí tenemos a la jovencita Princesa. Even the name.
Buenas tardes.
Mira nomás el nombre, Princesa. A ver, cuéntanos, ¿qué es lo que están representando aquí?
Mire, el programa misionero es algo que está enfocado para transformar vidas y inspirar carreras y ubicar a los estudiantes en camino de aprendizaje en la industria aeroespacial. Y al mismo tiempo también el currículo es el único profesional para profesionalizar a los estudiantes en carreras postsecundarias, y los equipa también para servir a los misioneros. Entonces, en este programa estamos enfocados muchos los misioneros para poder llevarlos a diferentes partes del mundo.
Oh, it's good. Qué bien, qué bien. Y claro, a ti te gusta porque estás ayudando a más, ¿verdad?
Sí, bueno, yo como le digo, mi trabajo es administrativa, entonces solamente estoy detrás de haciendo, pero es, como le digo, es algo que nunca pensé yo ver y nunca pensé yo ser parte para estar ayudando aquí a Miss Green.
Que así es como pasa. Uno nunca piensa en dónde vamos a terminar,
Sí.
porque Dios es el que dice cuándo y cómo y con quién.
Con tal que uno responda.
Amen, amen, amen. So thank you. I'm about to go into more Spanish. A ver, cuéntanos un poquito más de lo que están haciendo ahora.
Ahorita actualmente estamos en la clase en City Baptist, que también es una organización de parte de COF, de City Outreach Foundation, y ahí tenemos estudiantes donde le está dando ella clases son 4 años, empezando en 9º grado y para ¿cómo se dice? Senior, de 12 años, el grado 12. Y es para darle la meta de poder ellos tener su licencia de piloto para estar enfocados, de tener la oportunidad de ser pilotos para llevar a misioneros alrededor del mundo.
Ahora, en inglés, pilotos. Tell us about what she was just talking about. What are you guys doing right now, teaching other kids to be pilots? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. In short, we have a 3-phase process. So our phase 1 mission arrows are attached to Starbase with Colonel Ligon's wife, Miss Ava Ligon, and they do a great work at the Gary Armory, just developing STEM principles and whetting an appetite for our young people, 5th through graduated 8th graders. Then the 9th through 12th, we have a class at City Baptist, like she shared, and we have 4 grades there, 9th through 12th. And we take the time to teach across 4 areas: aviation, character, career, and missions. And through those 4 years, we develop our young people, and wherever they decide to go, we just want to make them missions minded. So you can use whatever it is, whatever skill set you desire to take, whether you go into the aerospace industry, whether you become a missionary, whether you become a missionary aviator. All of that is irrelevant as long as you understand the Great Commission. And so if we understand the need for that, you'll either give or you'll go. And so we want to provide the opportunity to prepare you with excellence. And then the phase 3 is post-graduation, and that's where we take our young college students, and that's where they actually will hit the cockpit. But we spend time whetting their appetites, preparing them for their ground exams, teaching them the necessary skills to progress in life wherever the Lord would have them.
Has any other schools come to you and asked you to bring your program into their school?
We have, and we are unapologetically going to continue to have our missions program, and that's the bedrock foundation. It is the Lord's work that we are preparing. It's not a flight school. It's not just to teach people how to fly. And so that's a large, maybe mitigating factor for people to be able to get over. And so our agenda is to serve the Lord. And that's what we want to do with our lives, not just try to provide a different opportunity for young people. But we realized that the need is great to develop excellence in young people. So we developed an extension ministry that allows us to kind of help, but not necessarily just help where people feel their people are most need that. So I talked a little bit earlier about Colonel Archer and his encouragement to me to become a pilot. And so we developed the Archer Academy as an homage to him. And so it's a training ground where we prepare for excellence, encourage people, and help them. And so this is what we make available as an extension to anybody who needs our help. So it's a free service. And if you need us to come for a one-day speaking engagement, if you need us to come and do an aerospace education, if you need us to corral a bunch of aerospace professionals together, if you need us to talk about career or character or even missions in a Christian environment, we welcome the opportunity to just share what God has blessed us with. And so throughout my time as a professional in the military, God has given me a lot of opportunities, and the Air Force and the American taxpayers have pumped a lot of money into my education and opportunities. And so to be able to give that back, especially as a free opportunity for young people, is a privilege.
Can I ask you this? You said you've been in the military for 19 years.
Yes, sir.
Are you looking for anything beyond the military at some point, and what you might be doing after the military?
Absolutely. So my goal is to continue to press full forward with the Missionary Pipeline, City Outreach Foundation, just developing our resources so that we can reach more people for Christ.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to have an experience coming up soon, thanks to Major Green. Tell us about that real quick.
So for those of you who cannot see Eve, she's all of 5'3", and she is just like a firecracker.
Small but mighty.
Yes, yes. And so her personality is probably 6 feet tall, even packed into 5'4". So we're excited to have her with us. But we're inviting young people, grades 9 through 12, all across the state, to Fort Wayne. And we have an Eyes Above the Horizon event. Some of my classmates from the Air Force Academy have started the Legacy Flight Academy. And that is an homage, again, to the Tuskegee Airmen, knowing, growing, and living the example of Tuskegee Airmen, overcoming those difficulties, those challenges, those barriers, and just succeeding in such a phenomenal way. And so Eyes Above the Horizon is just that. It's a one-day event where youth will have the opportunity to get to fly in a general aviation aircraft, and they get to spend time with aviators. And so we are seeking through the development of youth aviators with the Tuskegee Airmen program, developing underrepresented groups. So underrepresented groups in aviation include minorities ethnically, minorities gender-wise. Only 6% of pilots are women, only 2% are African American, Hispanic is 5%. And so we've got some work to do to be able to help people understand that it's doable. And so we bring a cadre of underrepresented aviators or aerospace professionals in, and we talk and we share, and the whole concept is see me, be me kind of thing. So we'll take all of these young people from Indy, from Gary, from Fort Wayne. Those are our bus pickups. We have transportation provided, and we'll take everybody to the base. We'll give you food. We'll fly you. We'll let you see some jets. We'll let you see some helicopters.
Wow.
We'll let you see the base. We'll have demonstrations for maintenance, for what our aircraft can do. And it's just going to be an amazing time to be able to expand and broaden horizons and just basically help you understand the opportunities that are available post-graduation.
That's awesome. Oh my
We're excited.
gosh, I'm going to be a kid that day.
You're a kid every day. But let me ask you this. Let
And
me
that's
ask
in
you
the
this.
Bible, is it
Let me
not?
ask you this.
Is it
Have
not
you
in the Bible? Yes.
Have you ever had to parachute out of a plane?
I have never, no,
Never
sir.
been.
I wanted to, but I didn't get the chance. But I would have loved to.
I've never been on a plane.
Yeah,
No.
I
And
told
that's
him he
okay.
needs to go to my
It's
Israel
okay.
trip.
It's okay.
It's
We need
okay.
to
No big
fix that.
deal.
We need
No
to
big
fix
deal.
that.
I told him,
And like,
look, let
if-
it be
if-
to go to
if-
Israel. The longest and
Okay,
first trip. We're
remember,
planning an Israel trip on
remember
my
you
mission.
said earlier when I said something about legalizing marijuana and I was against it, and you said to each his own? That's my own.
Well, if Jesus says, Juan, you need to get on the plane in order for you to go
There's
to this
the
country
internet.
that I need you there.
I don't need to
If
live.
God says you need to go, ladies, please help me out with this.
Go.
Obedience,
Gotta
yep.
But we don't all know how God is talking to us because we're not connected.
Sure.
We got to be
Our walk with God is
cool,
very
calm,
important.
and connected.
And after October 1st of 2020, if you don't get that special ID, you're not going to be able to go on any plane into any government building and whatever.
That's
so
true.
let it be written, okay?
The Bible is written, so we got to follow that word. Okay. So I'm just excited. Do we have any more room for any other kids?
We
Major
have
Green?
room for 10 people coming from
Oh,
Gary. We have
gosh.
room for 20 people coming from Indy. But if you want to take your own transportation and show up, we have room for about 50 more young people total. So registration is scheduled to end tonight at midnight at https://arena.cityoutreachfoundation.com. And if you go to our website, cityoutreachfoundation.com, you can see all the details there and sign up. But this is just the first
Awesome.
of
I'm excited.
several events in the Archer Academy series. That's the outreach extension. And so June 7th, we're going to have a live opportunity where people will get to go one-on-one with the Thunderbirds to just talk to them,
Ooh.
spend time with them, come out to the
You wanna
base.
go?
You should come. We have room for about 300 young people.
Oh, that fits
And-
you, Juan.
They'll have a STEM city, science,
Yes.
technology, engineering, and math
Oh my God.
displays there.
Look at God.
They'll get to see all the static displays of various aircraft. I'm excited about it. And we'll feed you there, give you some t-shirts, give you swag bags. It'll be great.
My size medium. I'm
We're
already
ready
signing
for you.
up for it.
We're
Come
ready
on.
for you.
You know, I bring a
We're
lot
ready.
of kids, and
Yeah.
we, I'm part of a lot of youth. I
You
call
pushed
them a
out our-
spiritual mom. I am a
Sure.
spiritual mom. We have a large youth group in our church, youth ministry,
Sure.
and these kids are from all over, all walks of life. Some that have nothing else to do. Thank God the parents decided to drop them off.
Sure.
We take them. The kids, I mean, they're loving the things that they're learning, that they're doing. We are one big, huge family.
Sure.
You know, we go way back 2,000 plus years, about 4,000 if you want to be exact.
Can I say something real?
Yeah, go
you know
ahead,
what?
Juan.
Because even I'm part of the Crossing School, was it the School of Business and Entrepreneurship? I was just yesterday, actually,
Which
2
I
days
sent them the
event,
information to bring some of the kids from the crossing.
that too many times we're trying to piecemeal when it comes to children and their problems, and we have to do that right now. But I think the bigger issue is we have to deal with parents and parenting, because everything starts with the parent. And if we have better parents overall, nationwide, worldwide, we're not going to have all these problems that we have with our kids that result from the home, that result when the child is still in that mother's womb.
Sure.
And so, you know what, I mentioned this real quickly yesterday, only because I didn't know, because I'm not a dad, I don't have any children, but the what is it, the health director was there for the state of Indiana, one of the people there from FSSA was there yesterday. I asked, and they were talking about infant mortality, and I asked because I didn't know. when they do the data tracking, do they track about the role of the father when it comes to a mother to be? They said they do, but I just wanted to bring that up because everything starts in the household.
Sure. The home is very
Yes, it
important.
does. And we are paving the way for those parents. We are teaching them to be advocates, and that's a different chapter for a different organization. But thank you so much, ladies, for coming.
It's a pleasure.
We're going to continue to do more work. I get the feeling that I know that everything happens for a reason. While we're connected, there's more work to be done, and bring it here on the airways. Larry, thank you for manning the board. Y Nuestra Comunidad Indiana regresa mañana a las 10 de la mañana. No se lo pierdan. What we have going tomorrow?
We're just going to talk about stuff, STUFF tomorrow.
We're going to talk about some good stuff if you have me on. But anyway. All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thank you for coming on here and listening to these wonderful ladies. Any more information, you can find it on our Facebook pages as well. So if you want to know, reach out to me. You'll know. Thank you, ladies, again.
Much appreciated.
Hasta la próxima. Nos vemos. Cuídense, y quiéranse mucho, respétense para que sean respetados y no se les olvide que hoy es lo que tenemos. Hagan lo mejor que se pueda porque mañana no lo tenemos prometido. Until next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
And you guys heard it, tomorrow's not promised to us. All right? Do what you can today. And it's not even about you. It's bigger than you.
Today on the internet?
Yes, and we're still live, and we are saying see you later. Until next time, we'll see
Some
you tomorrow.
comedian died while he was doing his comedy show live.
What?